Hi, everyone. Deborah Hamilton, Hamilton Law Mediation, the Why Do Pets Matter podcast. Please don't miss it. It's on any of your podcast platforms. And let us know what you think. Give us some information and pass it on. And now, of course, our MAAP community call, which we have every Wednesday since COVID began. We had it before as well. It just became more popular post COVID because of everything that we were living through. So for those who are new, I see we have a lot of new faces here. I know Janine is the 817 number, correct?
Correct.
And Cindy is Janine's friend, so welcome. Kathy McNamee is a colleague in the Irish setter world. Susan, Connie, and Kieran are regulars, so they know the drill, but I'm going to just give a little bit of a spiel at the beginning. Then I check in with everyone to see what it is they're looking to share with the group or to learn from the group. So before I start, I'll just say this is the program where and the community where we learn how to take care of our pets long-term, short-term. Most people put all of the care for their pets in their will. The only problem with that is you have to die. And so I know that everyone who's been here before knows I'm completely irreverent about that. You know, I'm not dead yet. Well, then all the plans I made for my pet will not come into fruition. And most people don't know that. During COVID, I actually edited the MAP plan because most of my caregivers were outside the state of New York. And guess what? The governor had shut the borders. So if I had gotten COVID, none of the people who I had in my plan would have been able to get into New York to get my dogs. So we have learned so much and really have continued to expand. We have many Ds. I'll go through a few of them, and I know that Connie, Sally, Susan, and Kieran can add to them if I forget any. So, of course, there's death, and then there's divorce. Nobody plans for their pets if they get a divorce. If they become afflicted with a disease, no plan. If they have a disability like I do now, no plan. I do have a plan. In fact, I had several plans that we've talked about over the weeks. Delay, dementia. No one ever plans for dementia, but they want to keep their pets with them. And if they can, we work on that. And I want to remind everyone that the workshop will be held, Rose and I are working on it, October 15th and 16th from 11 to 1 each day. It'll be $200, and that's a lot less than working individually with me. So sign up. We're going to work together for 2 hours. I know that Susan, Sally, and Connie were at the last workshop, and they can share with everyone what they thought they got out of it. So without further ado, I'm going to just explain to the new people what MAP stands for. It's the plan you make to navigate the journey your pet takes when you can't personally care for it. And believe me, the Ds are delay, disaster, disease, dementia, disability, deployment, data issues, all sorts of things that can happen to you that either keep you away from your pet or your pet away from you. And you really need to have a plan that picks up the slack with your pet. So M stands for make that plan. So what we do on that weekend is we sit down and make that plan for about an hour so you can really think about it. And then we address the needs of each of your pets because each of your pets have certain needs, either medication, personality, whatever, they have needs. The other A is for appointing caregivers. Yeah, you got to figure out those people who are going to be your caregivers. Sally has 2 of my dogs now because I am in transit, and it is really difficult to find someone who's going to take them for multiple months. However, I think she's going to up and move when I say I'm coming to get Roxy, so that she can, and everybody knows I'm kidding. But you need to appoint caregivers, and there has to be 3, and only one of them can be a family member, because if you're sick, they're going to want to be with you. So we talk about that. And then finally, publishing. That's what the P stands for. If you make this plan, you put it in a drawer, don't bother making it. Don't come to the workshop. Don't come because it won't mean anything if you don't publish it with your attorney, with all the caregivers, with your family, and with your veterinarian, because those are the people who are going to carry it out for you if anything happens to you. I also do this program for handlers because they don't really have a plan. Scares the death out of me. My handler does now because they have my dog, but they never had a plan for what they would do if something happened on the road to them or to their truck or anything. It's always catchers catch can. Well, now for my handlers, they must have loved that I dropped Junie off. And Connie will laugh at this because they were like, what? And I said, no, you got to have a plan in place, and I'm happy to help you. But you got to have a plan in place, and you have to have my number here and there, because if something happens to you, I want to know where my dog is. Because as we've talked about on various other programs all year, if your dog goes to animal care and control, now, some of us just have wonderful pets. Others of us have show dogs. If your dog goes to animal care and control and you are in the hospital hospitalized, and people don't know where your dogs are, or you don't have it in writing who can get your dogs out of animal care and control, then those dogs don't get out of animal care and control. And they might go to a rescue. And if they go to Irish Setter Rescue somewhere, the rescue might contact you, or they might not. And then if the dog is adopted out of the rescue, I can tell you that rescue contracts are written by some of my absolutely phenomenally smart lawyers. You cannot find out who's adopted your dog, even though you own it. You cannot find out who adopted your dog. So for me, I never wanted to get there. Okay, my car might look like a road sign, but I always have on my dashboard where my dogs are if I'm traveling alone. I have dogs at home. Please call this number if I'm involved in an accident. If I'm traveling with my dogs, if I'm involved with an accident, these are the 3 people that you should call. And while I drive to or from a dog show far from home, I look at my membership directory, right, Connie? We talked about this. I look at my membership directory and find people on my path who I can call and say, hey, Janine, I'm going through Texas. Can I use you as a phone call in case I have an accident when I'm in Texas? Even though Texas is a very big state, at least there's someone there that can be called, that can get there, or at least tell the police, I will get there, and just hold on to the dogs. And I have it in writing. So I've given you a ton of information. I usually am a fire hose, and I apologize, but it's only a half hour because I know how busy everyone is. So I try to give all the good information and new information up front. Then I check in with everyone. So tonight I'm going to start with you, Connie. How's everything going?
Well, here in Southern California, or all of California, we've got 2 of the Ds you didn't touch on: disaster, as in the wildfires in Northern California, which are, now we've got 2 of them totally out of control, and disease. COVID, of course, again, is resurgent despite the governors and the state public health authorities' best efforts to keep it contained. In fact, it was announced 2 days ago that now people who attend large sporting events, even outside, as in Dodger Stadium, have to, which has a seating capacity of upwards of 100,000 people, have to wear masks because, of course, everybody is smashed in cheek by jowl. And also, I will be showing next weekend up in Santa Barbara with my boy Casey, and we were advised about a week ago by the show superintendent that everybody who is showing indoors, and we're one of the breeds, has to wear a mask at all times.
You have to sign a COVID waiver again, or not yet?
Yes, we do have to sign a COVID waiver. However, those are not, as you probably know, Counselor, they are not worth the paper they're written on, and the kennel clubs do not bother collecting them or even paying attention to them. So it's kind of a farce. Yeah. But at any rate, we're back in the throes of it, and it's not pretty.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, thanks. Connie is our Wheaton Terrier representative. We love her. She has Casey, and she has
Patsy, his mother.
Mom. Yeah, right. So Sally, how are you doing with the 2 red dogs?
Red dogs are great. It's hot, hazy, humid again. So unfortunately, when we're in the air conditioning, they're just raring to go out and run. We get about a half a block. It's like, what happened? So I think, when you're making this plan, you have to tell people, if we walk a mile a day, but it's hot, hazy, and humid, or thunderstorms, cut it short. You have to read the dog.
Right. That's address the needs of the pet. That's what you have to tell people all the time. Thank you so much. Hey, Susan, how are you? How's Maggie?
Yeah, Maggie is doing all right. I'm going to be consulting again with Kathy because, I can't even get a leash on Maggie. A collar collar to attach a leash to because she's so, and it's something I have to, really requires focus and energy. So I'm trying to get back to that because she's had a few off days.
Yeah, so that's addressing the needs of Maggie, which I'll let everyone know she's a wonderful Catan, but she has grown up in the midst of COVID. So her experiences and her socialization was limited. So she's a little bit of a bossy pants. And Susan has been working with one of the guests on Why Do Pets Matter, Kathy Madsen from Preventavet. And, we also connect you with people to help you with your dogs. Susan, you found Kathy to be really helpful.
Yeah, I was really appreciative of all of her suggestions.
Yeah,
I
she's
ordered
great.
a ton of stuff that she had links to, and all of that has helped. We're still working.
Well, it's one step at a time, and she's what, 16 or 18 months old now?
She just turned 2 on Saturday.
Yeah. So you have 24 months to undo. It takes a while. I'm trying to lose weight from COVID, and that took 18 months to come on, and I'm thinking it should come off in like a minute. However, that has not been my experience. So,
Yeah.
Hey, Karen, how's everything going with Leo?
Well, Leo is going quite nicely, inch by inch, still moving.
Good.
So I was I'm doing a conference. I did half of it today, and the second half is tomorrow, and it's a group called AHI, Animal Health. Is it investment or innovation? Animal Health Innovations, and they're focusing on South America this week.
Oh, good.
So I was quite surprised to learn that in Mexico, they have roughly 8 million dogs, but only 30% of them are domesticated. The other 70% live on the street.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Wow.
so I never thought the balance was that bad, but that's apparently how it is. And the big difficulty throughout a lot of South America is most of the animals don't get the medication they need, and that's a mixture of
That's the rabies and the rest, heartworm.
yeah. So that's a mixture of the cost of the drugs,
And the lack of ownership.
the lack of ownership being the big one, and
Yeah.
it's so it sort of puts a lot of the first world problems into perspective.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So for those who are new, Kieran is in Tenerife, even though he hails from Ireland, as you could tell probably by his accent. And he just wrote a phenomenal book that I've been touting on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter called One-Eyed Leo, which teaches responsible ownership needs before you get your dog. So we've all, Connie and I both gave it to our AKC delegates for the AKC to use in Responsible Pet Month, which is in September. So we are thrilled that Kieran comes and keeps us up to date, because it really gives everyone the right start with their new pet. So Kieran, I'm so glad you're still here. Kathy, why don't you introduce yourself to the group and tell us who you have as your babies?
Well, I'm in North Carolina, suffering from
The same
warm
heat.
weather. I know Deborah because my beloved Irish setter of 12 years ago came from Deborah, and we became friends. And I lost her a year ago, and I have a 16-month-old Irish setter raised during COVID that I never expected to acquire. And I have a 4-year-old English Cocker Spaniel that I rescued. So I've been interested to just see what the Wednesday night is like.
It's a great community where we all celebrate each other, and we all try to make everyone do one extra thing or share one extra experience. I know that everyone, Connie and Sally and Susan and Kieran, have come up with ideas that they found to be really helpful for them to make a plan for their pets. So that's why we come here, because there's always the camaraderie of, okay, especially during COVID, okay, we can see each other, but how do we take care of our pets? So I'm so glad you're here, because I know that you've wanted to really be a part of this community and even think about making a MAP plan for the girls, Emma and Gracie, right?
Yep.
We always use the babies' names here because it is sort of homey. Cindy, why don't I go to you, because you're new to here and to me, so welcome. You have to unmute yourself, I think, but you're not muted, or maybe you can't talk. Rose, do I have to? Oh, there you are. Well, it's not muted, Janine, but but she can't talk. Okay, so I'm going to go to Janine while Cindy figures that out, or else Janine can fill us in on she and Cindy, because they are new to the exploration of the MAP program as well as Kathy. We're both laughing now, so I think that Cindy is on. Let's see. Why don't you go?
Well, I'm not muted. This is Janine. I'm not muted.
Go ahead, Janine. Tell us about your girls and kids and everything. So, Janine,
all right. Well,
person too.
Cindy and I both live in Texas. We are tracking fanatics, and so she's my tracking buddy. Anytime I say to anybody, it's like, well, my tracking buddy and I. And we are each other's first and foremost caregiver if something should happen. I have 2 kids that are 30, twin boys, and my Travis has cerebral palsy, so he entertains the dogs. We have 4 Irish setters. I have Smirk, Kindle, Scoot, and Steel. And Cindy, are you able to talk?
Oh, she's muted now.
Okay, she's muted now. Cindy has dachshunds.
Oh, wonderful. We love dachshunds. Are they smooths or are they long hairs? Because you know I'm partial.
None of the above. They are wire-haired minis.
Oh, well, I love those too. So, okay.
And she has Deeks, Melly, Kinsey, and Hamilton. Isn't that the best name?
I've never met Hamilton, but clearly my favorite.
You love him. But you love him.
That's right. Clearly my favorite. So Cindy, welcome. I'm glad Janine can talk. If you want to unmute yourself, do it at any time and just say, I'm unmuted. I want to talk now. So I love that you two have made this plan to take care of each other's pets. However, I'm thinking that you shared with me that it isn't in writing yet.
Well, we have big portions of it in writing. We've got, the second tier and third tier, like in my case, all of my dogs are owned by myself and Tristan minimally. Some have another owner involved, same for Cindy. But I think where we ended up with things is our biggest don't know how to deal with is AKC's power of attorney is, like doing that every year. Is there not a way to not circumvent it, but what if one of us dies 3 weeks before it comes, or goes into the hospital? And I mean, that's the last thing anybody's thinking about, but yet there's AKC looming over our heads with the forms about to expire. And, that's kind of where we stopped dead. But, both have been working on, not just our dogs, our houses, our everything. And the dogs are where we kind of,
a power of attorney with your attorney will not expire unless there's a limit in your state. It will not expire, and then that can be used for the AKC as well. It will just be stapled to the AKC's power of attorney, so you don't have to renew it every year. You just simply have to have one available to be submitted to the AKC. The AKC would like you to use theirs, and that's all well and good, but power of attorneys are power of attorneys. They don't become ineffective because they're not on AKC paperwork. It's just simply an extra step. MAAP that you have to have your attorney send it to the AKC so that they can process. Also, if you're ill, I'm so glad you brought that up, because we talk about this. We've talked about this a number of times, because some of us co-own dogs with other people. And what do you do, right? So
Right.
people say, I really don't ever want my dog to go back to Deborah Hamilton. She's got like a slew of dogs and she won't even notice. And the dog's never lived in a kennel, and the dog would live in a kennel. And what would I do? And I'd rather have it go to Cindy, because Cindy knows the dog and she's my next door neighbor. And I really want her to go, but she doesn't co-own the dog. So if Cindy has a dachshund that's co-owned by someone else, and you have an Irish who's co-owned by someone else, well, then I always say, transparency is best. You call the co-owner and say, hi, I'm putting a plan together for the care of my pets. I know in the contract I signed with you, or due to the fact we are co-owners, I know that you want Fluffy back. Let's say Smirk. I know you want Smirk back. However, I have 3 neighbors who love Smirk, who Smirk knows, who Smirk stays with when I'm on vacation. And so they know about you, they know about your co-ownership. They are totally willing to work with you, which of course you have to talk to the people who are going to take your dog to say, listen, this dog is co-owned. And so you're going to have to meet with Connie, because, you know, Connie co-owns the dog. And most of the time, Connie will say, oh, thank God, I don't have to take this dog back yet. I know the dog will be in a really good home because it's with someone that, you know, Janine picked, and, you know, I'm going to get to know them, and we're just going to make sure that if anything happens to that person, that they know they have to call Connie. So most breeders, you know, the reason we put in the clauses that say, or the reason we co-own most of the time, is so that we know where our dogs land. We don't want our dogs landing in a shelter. And if you don't co-own them and they land in a shelter, it's very hard to get them out. Or you don't co-own them and they land in a rescue, very hard to get them out. Or you don't have a written document that says, listen, I know I own this dog, but if something happens to me, even if I'm just incapacitated, I give Connie Kohler the permission to take my dog out of animal care and control. But that has to be in writing. Everything has to be in writing. I'm like the writing queen, because if it isn't in writing, even though you told Connie, if anything happens to me, please take my dogs, she really can't, and animal care and control really can't allow her to, unless there's something directing them to do that. So tonight, I mean, the one thing I would like both all of Cindy and Janine and Kathleen to take away, because I know I'm a harper on this, right, Susan and Connie and Sally, and put something up on your refrigerator that says, in the case of emergency, call Cindy. In the case of emergency, Kathy, you, of course, will say, you know, call Michael first, then call Deborah Hamilton, and they will be here. Because you really want to make sure you have someone who the police are going to call and say, hi, there are 2 dogs in this house in Creedmoor, North Carolina, and it says on the fridge that I'm supposed to call you, you know, because this woman is going out or her husband's going out, and, you know, blah, blah. I would just absolutely say, yes, I'll be there in, you know, as fast as I can. Please leave the dogs locked in the house. I have a key, and I will be there to take care of the pets. And during COVID, I also suggested that you make friends with a neighbor, and say, listen, if you ever see the sirens and the lights flashing, please come over and inquire whether or not it's me, and whether or not I need help with the dogs. Please just say, yes, I'm going to help with the dogs. And her name or his name should be on this, you know, list on your refrigerator as well, because then they know, okay, so I'm just the person who's supposed to chase the animal care and control away and leave my dogs put, not having my dogs taken out of the house. Then they know they're going to call Deborah Hamilton or Cindy Todd or Connie Kohler, because those are the backup people. I never want to do anything but, you know, maybe feed your dog for a day or 2, let your dog out. That happened during COVID. People weren't feeling well. They knocked on the neighbor's door in an apartment in Manhattan. And 2 weeks later, this person was still taking care of this dog and this cat. And, you know, the New York Post had the people in hazmat suits going into the apartment, picking the dog up and taking the dog to animal care and control, because the person who had asked the neighbor to watch it, you know, just while I go down and get checked out, he ended up on a ventilator. And when he got out of the hospital, like 2 or 3 months later, he wanted to get his dogs back. And guess what? They were already rehomed, because they were taken animal care and control. Nobody called to claim them because nobody knew to. and they were sent to a rescue, and rescues were popping out dogs every 30 seconds during COVID. So they were adopted, and you can't get them back. So tonight, your homework, Cindy and Janine and Kathleen, is you need to put up somewhere very, where a police officer or an EMT is going to see it, the person they're supposed to call if something happens to you. If you can put 2 people down, more is the better. So Janine, you would put down your son and you'd put down Cindy, because that way, if they can't get your son, they can get Cindy. If they can't get Cindy, they can get your son, so that that person can say, yes, I am right here. I'm going to take care of my pets. And Cindy, do the same, put 2 names down, Janine and someone else, so that you know that you're going to take care of that pet. And Kathleen, use Michael and use me, or even Dottie, who lives right down the street. She'd be happy to get there till take care till I got there. Any of my regulars want to pop in and say something about what? Yeah, Connie, go ahead.
Since I am hearing that all of you have purebred dogs, may I just suggest that your ultimate backup, and not just on your fridge, but also when you do make your MAAP plan formally, I have it in mind, is your ultimate backup, your ultimate backstop is either your local and or national breed club, because all of them have rescue groups that are affiliated with them. I was the rescue chair of my local Wheaton Club at one point in my career. And even if, and you can stipulate in your MAAP plan that rather than adopting out your dog, for instance, if you're stuck in the hospital for an extended period of time, but it looks like you will recover and come home, that local or national rescue team can set up a foster to take care of your dog until you're out, and then you get your dog back. So, please consider doing this, because it really does give you peace of mind that, I have about 3 or 4 of my go-to people in Southern California who would take my dogs. But ultimately, the big backstop is the National Breed Club and the local breed club. So, and if you want to have a foster situation, like I just suggested, stipulate that.
Yeah, you just have to make everybody aware, another transparent conversation. So you call your local rescue coordinator and you say, listen, I'm going to put you as the remainder in. I have 3 people lined up to take the dogs, but if they can't take the dogs, you are the remainder man. I've put money aside to pay for their care, to get them from point A to point B, and to pay for their food for a certain amount of time, and it can be augmented. But I just need you to know I want it to be a foster situation, not an adoption situation. So you just have to have this conversation. I know we're coming up, because this half hour goes so fast. I have to tell you all, it's like a fire hose, as I said. Janine or Cindy, and I'm so sad Cindy can't ask questions. Do you guys have any questions that you want answered? Because I know that this has been a lot to cover today. And Kathy, I'll get to you in a minute.
Not at the moment. I don't know about Cindy.
Okay, yeah, she's not muted, but she's not chatting. So maybe her microphone isn't working in her computer. Kathy, do you have any questions right now?
No.
Guys, I've scared them. Connie, you want to wrap up along with Sally and Susan and Kieran? I've scared them, guys. I've given them so much information, but that piece of paper, what do I say every night, right, Susan? Is it up on your refrigerator yet? Because I'm going to come up there to Virginia.
Deborah, could I ask how Gordon is?
Gordon's doing great, right, Sally?
Gordon's great. He's going to the infectious disease doctor tomorrow, and we're very hopeful that's the end.
Thank you, God. That was something we talked about here on the MAAP plan, because Sally had been my go-to person to take Roxaroni Puxatoni, and her husband developed babiosis, which is a really serious tick-borne disease. And so we were worried. So I had made alternate plans with Kathy in Creedmoor or Caroline McAteer in Pinehurst, North Carolina, to take Roxy, because it was really very touch and go with Gordon. But At the very last minute, Sally called and said, would you mind reconsidering and leaving Roxy here? Because Gordon's on the mend. And I said, well, Roxy would appreciate me reconsidering if it's not too much for you. Because, Sally was running ragged, and you really have to appreciate your caregivers and make sure they are able to take care of your pets as well. Part of the publish your MAAP plan means you have to give it to people, but then you have to check in with your caregivers every year. People forget, they say, I'm going to take care of your dog, no worries. And then they move to a townhouse that allows 50-pound dogs, and you have 100-pound bull mastiff, right? Not going to be able to slide that dog into that townhouse. So you really need to check with your caregivers every year to make sure their situation hasn't changed. So Connie, let's wrap it up. I'll start with you. I'll go to Sally, and then I'll go to Susan, and Kieran, you're going to take us home.
Well, I'd just like to say welcome, and really this plan is literally a lifesaver, and it creates a tremendous amount of peace of mind, because I'm here to tell you, your life can change in an instant. Mine has, and a lot of ours has, or have. And so, you got to be prepared for your animals.
And the community has helped you get through a lot of stuff and update things as well, right? This community conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And even as your animals evolve, some of them will die. You'll get a new one, or they'll develop a medical condition where they need medication or therapy or whatever. That has to all be updated all the time.
Yeah, it really does. Sally, how about you?
Yeah, I agree totally. I was the perfect example. I was all set to take Roxy, and like in a nanosecond, all of a sudden I'm sitting in the emergency room for 10 hours. I'm like, how am I ever going to go get this dog? And fortunately, my husband stabilized, and I called up Deborah and I said, I don't know, maybe yes, maybe no. And I thought, I can do this. I can do this. And I drove down and got Roxy and turned around and went right back to the hospital.
Yep. And believe me, it was with much trepidation, not because I didn't think Sally could take care of Roxy and Gordon. It's just that was that one more thing. But I knew that at the end of the day, I'll share a secret with you. Roxy is Gordon's favorite. So we knew that Gordon's recovery would be swifter because the Rachichi was there.
That's true. That's true.
Yep. So we erred on the side of making Sally have one more thing to do. How about you, Susan? Why do you like the community? I know you're making your MAAP plan, but why do you like this community and you come every Wednesday?
Well, I just like the camaraderie, but I also love to get the ideas and share the information, like Connie just mentioned, setting up Foster through the rescue of the National. And I'm very interested in knowing more about how that works, and if there are certain requirements, like if a dog has a behavior problem or that sort of thing.
Yes.
Well, rescues ask you all about that, but they will consider taking the dog if you're transparent and you work with them. And you
Correct.
Are working with Kathy, so it's not like you're saying, well, my dog bites everyone it comes in contact with. They might step away from that if you're not actively trying to change that, but you are. So okay. I think the Catan Rescue is part of the national group. Just make sure you speak to the Catan Club of America and say, what rescues do you affiliate with? Because there are a lot of breed-specific rescues who don't affiliate with national clubs. And I think, Connie, you would agree, try to stick with the breed rescues that are affiliated with the national club.
Absolutely. Because just in Wheaton's, we have about 2 on a national level that we trust. In fact, we're in the process, as Deborah knows, of spinning off our National Parent Breed Club rescue team into its own 501c3 charitable organization for a whole host of reasons. But they will continue to be very closely affiliated with us. And there's another terrific rescue, Wheaton's in Need, that in fact is in Texas, ladies. And it is run by and staffed by all our National Breed Club members. Those are the only two in all of the United States, other than our regional breed clubs that we trust.
Yeah.
Otherwise, golden retrievers. My sister Pat, who lives in the San Francisco Bay Area, is one of the founders of NorCal Golden Retriever Rescue. They are very closely associated with Golden Retriever Club of America, but their Golden Retriever rescue groups are a dime a dozen. And some are good, most of them are very bad. So the more popular your breed, especially, the more care you need to take.
Yeah, when you're assigning that, absolutely. And Catans probably do not have a high level, although they're nice little white dogs, so they might have a high level of rescues. Kieran, why do you come every week? I love that you come, and I know that we have helped you, and you have certainly helped us here, thinking about outside the box, responsible dog ownership.
Well, it's sort of like a late night university. You never know what'll pop up here. and it's always interesting, Debbie, and it's great to hear Connie as well. And I'm going to I suppose wind up with a couple of incidents over the last 24 hours. So I had a sleepless night last night. Not that I was worried about anything. I never worry. It was a problem with the walls.
Uh-oh.
The walls were actually very hot. The temperatures here in this corner of Tenerife, and it's a sort of an unusual corner in that it doesn't really have wind. Now, the wind it does get, it comes direct from the Sahara. So it comes across the bottom of the island, the south end of the island, swings around up to the north. So last night it hovered between 107 and 114 Fahrenheit. Right.
We are not
It's a bake oven.
So it was an oven. So I decided the bedroom was closer to a sauna than a bedroom. So I went out to the terrace just drinking tea for a few hours. And then when I was talking to the locals, I discovered I wasn't alone in doing that last night. Almost nobody slept in the area. But I think this actually has a greater consequence. Now, my dad, when he was alive, he had this lovely phrase, which is, coming events cast their shadows. And I think it's from a particular play. I'll have to find it, but it's a lovely line. And I was just thinking about this today. Okay, you have a lot of people in the area, no sleep. Now, you take anybody, say 50 plus. If there's a few events like that, well, you're into the disaster area, ill health, and suddenly, first on the firing line would be a lot of dogs here. So I can just see with global warming, and it probably comes under the D of disaster. We can no longer live in a world where we take so much for granted. I mean, if you turn around and none of your neighbors have slept. So I think more than ever, we have to rethink, if you like, the documentation and the precautions we would have in line for our pets. So
yeah. Because it was hot for them too. Do you still have your dog that you were watching, or they went back home?
No, I'm the same routine. We go down to the beach before the dawn, and so I had 3 hours sleep, but I always stick to routines because then you actually don't need sleep. You will lose sleep if you lose your routines, so put it that way. So went down, and it was very strange, like walking along, and it felt like there was somebody in front of me with a hairdryer.
Holy Toledo. Well, and that's a dry heat, right? So we're all dying here in humidity. Connie has dry heat pretty much, right, Connie?
Well, except I live 10 minutes from the Pacific Ocean. And
so
today, as a matter of fact, it's very overcast right now, and it's been very muggy.
Yeah. So we're all suffering the heat, and we have to remember with our pets that that's something we have to consider. Was the dog out on the terrace drinking tea with you?
No, the dog has found a lovely area of marble in the house, and no.
You just need to lay on the marble next to him. That's all. He's pretty smart.
No. She makes it quite clear that she's not sharing the spot with anyone. So I'll put it this way. I didn't have the luxury of being in the doghouse last night.
Yeah, that would have been a luxury.
It
So
would have been.
I know that I hope that Janine and Kathleen and Cindy come back next week. We're here every Wednesday at 6:30. We're a great group. This is a community call. Nobody's sold anything or done anything. We just try to keep everybody on track to make that plan for their pet on their own, or if they want to come on October 15th and 16th, more than welcome. Oh, thank you, Cindy. Cindy put a reaction up. She put a heart up.
Ah.
Thank you. Because we're here to really pay attention to what we don't think about and what we think we'll do. I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it the next day. And I know that Connie has spoken to me a number of times on how she's so glad she has it put together, and so has Sally, because they know that tomorrow has already come for them 3 or 4 times, and they
Yes.
were able to just pull it out and say, okay, this is what I'm doing. So until next Wednesday, this is Deborah Hamilton, Hamilton Law and Mediation, the Why Do Pets Matter podcast, and of course my wonderful community who I love to the moon and back. For the MAAP community who are making plans for their pets so that their pet's journey is navigated in the event something happens to them. So until next time, kiss your babies for me.